It's officially a rematch, and the Eagles are taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Roll tape. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew, and we're here to talk all things Philly sports. Now that the AFC champions have officially been knighted? No, crowned? Crowned. That's the one. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Buffalo Bills. We did not have the matchup officially before our last podcast went up, which went on Tuesday. Which I thought was a really good podcast. I had a lot of fun with Andrew doing that one. A lot of excitement coming right out of the game, and now we are here. It's the week before. It's a weird week. We've got the Pro Bowl this weekend, which I assume none of the Eagles players are going to play at. I haven't seen that officially. We had an injury report from today. I did not watch the Eagles press conference because I think a lot of it is a lot of nothing right now, right? Like media day next week is Monday, and I think that's going to be kind of the start of a lot of news. Possibly more episodes than usual next week. If we try to pump some smaller episodes out a little bit all the time, we'll see. Just a little tease at what might be happening, or maybe nothing. Maybe just the regular episode. This episode's going up on Thursday, January 30th. Excited to see the Eagles take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, as I said, this is a rematch of 50 Bowl, Super Bowl 57. My tongue don't speak it no good right now. Super Bowl 59. I was looking at some stats, and it looks like rematches are not quite in favor of the losing team. There are certainly a few. I don't have the exact. It's something like this is the 10th rematch, and I think somewhere between 30 to 40% of the teams that lose the first time win the second time. So not terrible odds, not great odds, but I will say going into this game, I am getting more and more excited, of course, but I'm getting more and more confident in the Eagles' capacity to win this game. It's just I am getting so eager to see the Super Bowl.
No, absolutely agree with you. I said it. I wanted the rematch. I'm getting the rematch. Very excited all around. I think it's gonna be fun going against Mahomes again, going against Andy Reid, going against. We'll throw him in there. He wasn't there last time, but the backup quarterback Carson Wentz.
Oh,
Um,
I want to see Jalen Carter flatten Mahomes so Wentz comes in for one play. I want,
one
and
play.
that might be bad karma, but like I want to
Yeah,
see
he just
that
he just
so
cost
badly,
us.
so badly.
Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I think it's completely different team. No, sorry, not completely different team, but a lot of different things for this Eagles team. We're coming off a very good offseason that we didn't have with the last time out. Obviously, all the young guys are growing too. We got a more experienced Jacoby Dean. He's not going to play with Jalen Carter. Zach Bond obviously wasn't here. Obviously, Saquon Barkley wasn't here. So I'm very excited all around. I think this team's going to be different. I'm excited for Sirianni's second time in the Super Bowl. He even mentioned in his press conference on Monday after the NFC Championship game, he kept notes from what he did wrong, he thought, in the Super Bowl. So he's excited. He talked about that. So I'm excited what changes he might have in the week leading up to it. Obviously they extend that halftime. So he is more experienced on how to help with that whole thing as well. Because it's just a whole different atmosphere and different outlook for this team, or for teams in the Super Bowl. So I think, and we've only seen growth from Sirianni, which makes it more exciting. And I think he's going to be ready for it. I think it's going to be a battle back and forth, and it's going to be obviously we didn't get the results the last time we played the Chiefs, but obviously for football fans, it was a very fun game, and I think it's going to be nothing different.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's crazy hearing you talk about Sirianni and his eagerness for this game, I think is the best way to put it. And
Yeah,
I cannot be more confident in this man that's leading the Eagles. The guy who was on the chopping block, the hot seat, whatever you want to call it, by every other media station, not us. We've been critical, but we've never put him on the hot seat. But like it's 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 so exciting to see him like just rub it in the media's face. I absolutely love it. I forget if it was directly after the game or maybe in the Monday press conference, but he was quoted as saying anyone who doubted Jalen Hurts is like crazy. Basically, he said that how confident he is in Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, and I just think it shows a level that of the chemistry on this team is just so high, and I think it just starts with Nick Sirianni, and we and surprise, surprise, Andrew and I are not in the locker room. We're going off of what we're seeing on the field. But
Maybe one
again,
day.
what we see, maybe one day, but what we see on this field, dude, it reminds me of what I see in the Phillies, which is just another group of guys, another group of dudes just having a good time. And when people bring up oh, Sirianni and Hurts don't get along, or oh, AJ Brown and Hurts are arguing, or oh, AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley, they're jealous of each other, blah blah blah. It's like, how could you possibly think that when you have things like Saquon Barkley running down the field with Shipley scoring a touchdown, or AJ Brown and Devontae Smith telling Barkley, dude, go for the touchdown next time. What are you doing? Like, they're just cheering each other on so much every single play. Look, I know Philly has short-term memory. I know that what happened with Nick Foles, well, not Nick Foles. I mean, he didn't get signed because of Carson Wentz, but I know what happened with Carson Wentz and what happened with Doug Peterson. It's very hard to believe that those two aren't on the team when we just won the Super Bowl 7 years ago with them. But man, Sirianni and Hurts going not just to the playoffs every year, but getting into the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. I can't stress enough how we are living a just this is a hoax. This is a paradox. This isn't real life, is what it feels like to have such a good team. And the amount of disrespect to both of those men is outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, just think about how long this organization's been around. This is the first time a quarterback and coach in Eagles history have gone back to the Super Bowl. And that's not only the first time that they've gone back together, but just the first time a coach or a quarterback has gone back to the Super Bowl game. I mean, you think about it, obviously, in our lifetime, Diamond McNabb and Andy Reid, right? They never made it back. Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, as you mentioned, or Nick Foles, they never made it back. And now this is the first time, and hopefully you're able to get the win this time. And I think I mean, you saw some of their comments kind of teasing towards it, shots at media, but I think that's just kind of only teaser. They're waiting for, if they get this done, I think we're going to have some epic quotes from them, whether it's, right after the game, whether they save something fun at the parade. I think it would be, they're saving something if they can get it done.
I was
But
going to say,
I mean,
so keep going.
I would say, like, the way they kind of tease some of their quotes there after the game, you could tell, like, they want to do it, but they know better of, like, they don't want to say anything and then have a bad Super Bowl game, right? And then everything they say looks bad. So, like, I'm just waiting for you. If you're able to get it done, I think it's going to be some fun times, obviously, with what they're going to have to say.
Yeah, I mean, to jump off that real quick, you're hearing right now, can Josh Allen get the job done after he lost to Kansas City again? It can, oh shoot, who's the Bills coach? Do you remember?
Sean McDermott. He's
Is McDermott gonna get the job done? And it's amazing. You have the Bills, McDermott and Josh Allen are such a good. Again, you want to talk about things that don't happen. Like, they've gone to the AFC Championship twice in however many years, and it's not that they're a bad team. That's how good the Kansas City Chiefs are.
Yeah.
And the media wants to run with the opposite direction. They want to run with, oh, the Bills can't get the job done, not, wow, the Chiefs are pretty damn good. And now on top of that, right, going back to the Eagles, it's kind of a similar thing. And to your point of they're waiting, I want to say, if you haven't seen this already, I'm sure Andrew has, but if you haven't seen this already, listeners, you viewers, well, first of all, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure you like or subscribe or comment. Tell us how you feel about the matchup being a rematch against the Chiefs. And if you haven't already, follow us on Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. We'll read each 5-star review out loud. That's my promise. That's all I got for you. Maybe more bribery later. But if you haven't seen it already, there's a picture, and it's side by side. Jalen Hurts receiving the NFC Championship trophy from 2023 versus now in 2025. And it's funny because he's happy in both, but you can tell in the 2023 one, it's a true, like, wow, what an accomplishment. I can't wait for what's next. Giant grin on his face. The one from this year, he's clearly still happy, but you can just see in his eye, he's like, job's not done. Job's not
Yeah.
done. Like in a smile, in one picture, you can see it. He's like, job's not done. And I have all the faith in the world in them right now because I think the the Chiefs have nothing to lose. They're fighting to be the first team to have a three-peat. You know how meaningless that actually is? The only thing that does is solidify you as a better dynasty over the New England Patriots. You know what? At the end of the day, that's probably going to happen anyway. They already have three Super Bowls. They're probably going to get another two or three Super Bowls. And who cares if it's a back-to-back thing? It's a crazy stat that no one's ever done, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, they've already won a Super Bowl. Like that's the thing we're just glossing over right now, as opposed to the Eagles trying to get their second one ever and doing it on a rematch. And I just can't stress enough the rematch, man. The Eagles, Philadelphia, we are a gritty bunch of assholes and we hold a grudge. And you can see it in Hurt's eyes. He's holding a grudge. And you can see it in Saquon Barkley. He didn't go for the rushing record because he wants a Super Bowl. This team wants it, and I love it.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm with you 100%. And last time we had a rematch, we won it all. So maybe we'll repeat history there. And Eagles are 1-0 on the Super Bowl rematch. That's the only
right.
stat you need. You don't need the other ones.
That's right. That's right. Now,
But I will say, I mean, knock on wood, obviously, but Barkley, cool stat. I don't know if you saw this one. He should break the all-time record in rushing for playoffs included. He only needs 23. If he doesn't break that, it probably wasn't a good game.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that. We're gonna go over some props. I think is how we're gonna end today's football conversation. Just because a lot of what we're saying, like I said, we'll probably meet a lot more next week. We're gonna have a lot of episodes, maybe a couple, whatever. We'll figure it out. But very excited to put out as much Eagles content for you guys as we can next week, leading up to Super Bowl 59. The one big thing I want to talk about today, going off of Saquon Barkley, is injury report. Basically, the Eagles didn't practice today. They rested everyone. Quite literally, it says the Eagles did not practice, and it just says everyone rested. So there's some other like names here. But speaking of injuries, the thing I wanted to bring up to Andrew today, very specifically, it's been going around a lot in this media, whether it's the Philly radio, national media, whatever. Is Brandon Graham playing in the Super Bowl? Andrew, do you think it happens? And should it happen if he can?
I mean, if he can, absolutely, it should happen. I mean, that means he's ready to go. I mean, he's a really good player, obviously, especially with Nakobe Dean being out still. It gives you another pass rusher. I think he's going to give it a go. I don't think he's going to go out there and play his normal snap count. Like, I think he might be in a play here and there. I think he'll be almost treated as like a backup in that sense. So I think he'll be on a snap count restriction there, and he might try to cause problems here and there. Obviously, I don't expect him to play his normal snaps and go out there and play a full game. But I think maybe some third downs mixes in there and see if you can get Mahomes caught off guard on something like that. And obviously, he made the big play in the last Super Bowl on Brady, so maybe you save him for late game situations too.
Shout out Pops. He said the exact same thing. Talked to him on the phone today. Said the exact same thing. Said you save him, you use him for some key third or fourth downs. You maybe throw him in the fourth quarter. I guess my initial thought, and I know Brandon Graham is the guy, and that was his exact words, where he's the guy. So if he can play, you at least let him make the appearances because that gets it going. I just it's not pessimism. It's I guess a little bit of realism, which always brings up the quote, you be positive, I'll be realistic. But like, the rust factor, which we saw with Jalen Hurts, just these three over the past three games, right? We had the Packers, followed by the Rams, followed by Washington. It took 2 games for Hurts to get back into shape. The third game was when he finally looked like full 100% Jalen Hurts. So to have someone like Brandon Graham come back in after however many weeks, 10 weeks, 9 weeks, not playing, it's a little worrisome in my opinion. But I think you definitely suit him up. I think he definitely gets a couple of reps in here and there, but I think you definitely have to limit those reps. You just can't be 100% in.
I think it's a little different than Hurts because Hurts is out there, has to be on timing with the receiver. he's throwing the ball. He's got to be sharp on his throws. So that does take a little bit. I mean, in the end, Graham's job, go hit the quarterback, go rush the quarterback, force him into some bad throws. So to me, that's not going to be too much rust. It's going to be more how much game shape he's in. And I think if you're holding him on a snap count, limiting him to third downs, I don't think you have to worry too much about as much shape as he's in because he's doesn't got to be out there as long on certain plays and series.
All right. I mean, Andrew, if there's anything else you want to touch on, I know we were going to be a little shorter on today's Eagles segment, but otherwise, let's just maybe go into a few props for a little bit of fun.
Okay.
All right, so let's, like I said, just going through some fun things, but we got our passing yards props, which Jalen Hurts is at over 210.5, and Patrick Mahomes is at 250.5. What do you think about that? I'm like that they're fairly close. Obviously, once again throwing out an obviously, but obviously Patrick Mahomes is going to have more passing yards in consideration. However, I don't think that's a super significantly high considering the Eagles' run game.
So you said Mahomes is 250?
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be another high scoring game, similar to what we saw last time against them. So I go over for Mahomes there. They don't. I mean, we all know how Andy Reid likes to call games. He likes the screens. Obviously, he'll run the ball if he absolutely has to, but I think they're gonna live and die obviously with Mahomes. So I'm gonna take the over on Mahomes. Hurts, you said 220. What was it?
210.
210. I think the Eagles are going to lean heavily on Barkley. I think their goal is going to try to get out to an early lead, use the run game. So obviously see how the game shapes out. I'm going to lean the under there on Hurts.
I think that's probably a good call. Do you think he's strong enough to rush a little more himself? Now I know he did get a rushing touchdown. Did he get one or two? I think he only got one, right? It was
You
two.
got Mahomes or Hurts? Sorry,
Hurts.
in the championship game,
Yeah, I think it was one, right?
3. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in NFC champ because we had 7 total. Barkley ran for 3, he ran for 3, and Shipley ran for 1.
Wow. God damn, that team is amazing. Which is
And
why
then
I put a little parlay together and have Barkley TD, Hurts TD. Uh, I put over 49.5 because I agree it's gonna be a high score game. Like this game, like the whole. I guess I'll say that the Eagles' defense being like the better defense, the goal of that is to keep you in the game. It's not to not let them score. It's to keep it a realistically close game, right?
yeah, it's gonna be who could get that turn. Honestly, it's gonna be similar to the one the Eagles won against the Patriots. It's the Eagles had a solid defense that year, but obviously the Super Bowl turned into a very high scoring game, a ton of offense, and it came down to which team can create that first turnover or first punt. And obviously, it came down to the Eagles late in the game. I think that's what your defense is going to have to do, as you said, keep you in the game, wait for that fourth quarter, big turnover or something, or a big play to happen, and that's going to be the difference in the game.
Now let's do some rushing overs. We got Barkley at 112 and we have Hurts at 40.
I think with the extra week off, and obviously Hurts looked pretty solid last game. I think he's going to be full go in terms of the run. I know they said he was going to be last game. I think it was clear they're still a little hesitant outside, obviously, the short yardage. But I think he's going to be full go. I think you're going to see a lot of options. I'm going to take the over on both of them.
I think you gotta. I think specifically Barkley, you have to take that over. Like,
Yeah, I think Barkley gets up north of 120. I think you'll see him like 130 range, and then I think Hurts gets to like 55.
right, like the only reason he didn't hit the over last game was because they pitched the starters in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter
yeah, exactly. And I
of
mean,
the
think about
NFC Championship.
it. And think about it, the backup that came in for him at 78 in fourth quarter.
That's crazy,
Because
dude.
Gainwell even played for Shipley
Oh,
until Gainwell got the concussion, and then Shipley came in the fourth. So he had 77 yards and a
which
touchdown in the fourth.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that because something I had looked, I didn't see anything. Have you heard anything on Gamewell?
He is a concussion, so it's gonna be similar to Hurts. It's gonna be all dependent on the concussion protocol stuff. I would probably count him out. That was a pretty hard hit. I'd be
It's a
surprised
shame.
if he
It's a
goes,
big.
which is a
He's
shame.
a
Yeah.
big part of this team. I think.
Yeah, I will say I'm not saying he's as good as Gainwell yet, but Shipley plays the same style. That pass kind of style, runs when he needs to, can make a move, and he's a very good kick returner. So I don't think it's a giant loss, but yeah, I think the veteran presence too with him because he's been around for a while now is big too there.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for me for the Eagles, unless there's anything on Andrew's end. Maybe we'll put together a fun same game parlay next week. We'll see. Maybe get a little. How can we get $1,000 with $10 or something fun like that? One of the
Yeah, you
old
can.
fanatics methods. But I'm the only one that bets, not Andrew. I'm the degenerate gambler. Uh, So we're gonna get into some Phillies talk today because unfortunately we're seeing some people kind of offloaded on the team, off the team.
Yeah, unfortunately, Carlos Estevez signed with the Royals, so it still leaves a little bit of hole in your bullpen. Obviously, you bring in Jordan Romano this offseason, but yeah, you're down Jeff Hoffman and now Carlos, so you're down two guys there that were very good pitchers in the back end of your bullpen. You obviously traded for Estevez there at the deadline, so it's another guy you saw. And Austin Hayes signed with the Cincinnati Reds just a day ago. Another one of your trade deadline acquisitions. So you lost two guys that you added at the deadline already. So obviously not a great deadline last year, but we'll see. I mean, I think overall your bullpen's still very good. There's some health questions. Romano was hurt a little bit last year, but it's going to be interesting. I would not be opposed to go get and trying to get one more arm here before we get set. Obviously, pitchers and catchers just a couple weeks away. February 12th is there when they're opening up. So excited to see that come around quick. Hopefully, see the Eagles win the Super Bowl and leads into that Phillies pitchers and catchers, keeps the hype train going. And yeah, it's a shame. I would have liked to see Estevez back. I don't know about you, but again, I think this
I liked
back end still
Estevez,
needs one
dude.
more piece.
I thought he was a
Yeah,
good addition to
obviously,
the team.
yeah, it was good, and obviously, he had that one slip up in the playoffs, which turned to be costly, giving up the grand slam. But overall, I mean, the whole bullpen, right? The whole bullpen went crazy there in the playoffs and
Yeah,
cost them that series. So you can't pinpoint it on one guy. And like I said, we'll see what they do going forward here.
I think my problem is, and I'm trying to go through some news now. Like I know we've talked about a couple acquisitions, but like it just feels like the Phillies didn't really do anything in this offseason that was that major. And like you mentioned, pitchers and catchers is right around the corner.
Yeah, the Phillies are in a tough spot, and I think it's a shame because of the way last year ended. So I think people obviously still have a bad, bitter taste in their mouth, and
Very bad taste. I'm
we
just gonna
don't see.
throw that out there.
There's a lot of fans that don't see the true value in this team. I love this team going into the season. Again, I would love one more piece, maybe in that bullpen. But you look at a lot of power rankings. This team's still third, fourth, fifth. I mean, this team's still a top five team in baseball, and it's where this team's at. There's not many moves you can make. I mean, you look at shortstop Trey Turner, he's locked in. You look at second Bryson Stott. That's one of your young guys coming up. Alec Boehm, another young guy who's been proven very good hitter in this lineup. Bryce Harper at first, he's not going anywhere. JT's going to his last contract year with this team. He's obviously your catcher. Castellanos, another veteran you've signed in. Schwarber at DH. So like this team, like you've already built the pieces. You can't do much. Yeah, I mean, you look at your starting rotation: Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. You make the trade for Jesus Luzardo, which I think is an underrated move, just in the sense of you're throwing him out every fifth day as your fifth starter this year instead of Taiwan Walker. So there's a lot more. There's more wins there as you have a fifth starter that's going to be ready to go. Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, so like these guys are in place. These guys got to be able to go out there and perform and go out there and get the job done. I think the big thing this year is you're turning to one of your young guys, and that's Oren Kirkering. Going into the year, the young guy who's we've seen pitch well in the regular season. We'll see what he does in the playoffs. Obviously, he's had some moments, but he's the young guy they're going to turn to this year to be a back end of the bullpen piece.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. On paper, the Phillies are still the guys, right? They're still the team. I mean, it's just you you want to see something happen differently this season, right? You want to see a change that matters, and instinctively that is changing something about the roster. But I know that at the end of the day, you're right, and that's not true. What changes though is going to be a huge like question mark. How does the team get better without changing something in the roster, without taking a change in management position? And I'm not saying fire anyone. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, do we really believe this year is going to be different? And when you start losing people, and not that Estevez was a complete game changer by having him, but he was a solid ace, I think, for the most part, other than the end in the postseason, like you said, like a lot of the bullpen was. So it's just a matter of how, how does this team change, not change even, but how does this team succeed in the way it hasn't in the past 2 years?
Stop chasing breaking balls.
Yeah, I mean, well,
But
but
no,
that's like, did we even
here's
see
a
like a change in the batting coach? Like that's the kind of thing though. Is it's like something
but
stupid, but like that's what we need.
But see, I love the coaching staff. I don't think there's much room to change there. I think these guys got to go out there and perform it. And with the Dodgers in the way, it's going to be tough. I mean, this Dodgers team is, I will argue that it could be the greatest team in the history of baseball on paper. This Dodgers team's so good with coming off a World Series and only adding a ton of pieces in the offseason, more than any other team in the league. I mean, the guys they went out and signed, and Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, I could go on and on. And I mean, this Dodgers team is a force to be reckoned with, and that's gonna be the team in your way. I truly believe, the Phillies are coming off an NL East title. I think they get the job done again. I think this team is still the best in the National League East, and again, I think that's where it's tough. Is I mean, the moves you have to make to get better than that Dodgers roster is just crazy, and they went out and spent the money. That's the difference. Is the Phillies didn't want to open up the books even more and get past that luxury tax for a third time, or the third tier there, where the Dodgers were willing to do so, and that's the difference. Again, I think this pitching staff you could go toe to toe is the best in baseball. That the lineup's arguably a top tier in baseball. So there isn't much room. It's you the offense went cold. They started chasing some bad pitches, and that was the difference of last year. I know, obviously, we always point to the bullpen, but those bats didn't do much of that Mets series either. And it's going to be on the guys. And I think hopefully a year and a bad bitter taste there. I mean, saw it with the Eagles, right? That was could have said the same thing. Yeah, tough. The first round exit in the playoffs to the Buccaneers. They made a few minor moves, and that was the difference in the year. I mean, no one expected some of those guys to take off like they did, and that's what the Phillies did. You got Jordan Romano and Max Kepler. Max Kepler's the big hitter you got in the offseason, so he's on a 1 year deal, kind of a prove me deal, and we'll see. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but again, there's not much this team outside on pay or the X's and O's here for baseball, right? Laying off those pitches, hitting your spots, and it's on the guys. Is basically what I'm saying, that to make those adjustments and at the plate, and that's what hopefully Kevin Long and the offense was able to do in the offseason.
All right, so Flyers, Sixers. What do you think?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I didn't know if that was like part. I don't know if that was part of the podcast or what.
I was more asking. I want to talk Flyers, but I didn't watch them, and I don't really know what to talk about other than the fact that we're tied with the Rangers and the Islanders. Or no, sorry, with the Rangers 1 point above the Islanders. Um, I just don't really have anything to talk about, unfortunately.
I don't have to force it.
Yeah, so let's just talk Sixers because I'm kind of curious about that with you. So let's just do Sixers today. We did Phillies. All right, so let's get into some Sixers talk. We've got the Sixers coming off a bizarre 3 game win streak, if I do say so. I don't know how Andrew's coming in here, but like a win against the Cavs and a win against the Lakers last night. I did not watch the Lakers game, but I followed it. I saw that score, and I saw that score again this morning, and I was like, what? What just happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. I don't know what else to say with this team. I mean, we talked about it before. I mean, they got to figure out what they want to do.
It's,
Obviously, they're not going to go out and throw games, but like,
but those are the games to lose. So like,
no, so
are you
no,
losing or not?
and this proves my point. I always said it. I love the moves they made in the offseason. I think they really built a good top to bottom team. It's about getting the guys healthy and getting Embiid out there. And again, we have no update on Embiid. They'll never give us one. So I mean, it's a matter of like what this team is. But like Paul George in that Cavs game, he drops 30. Maxey the last 2 games, 31 and 43. Those were 3 good wins. Chicago's the team in the last playing game spot. The Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously first in the East. The Lakers, very good playoff team, with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And this team went out and beat all three. And then you get a Kings team tonight on Wednesday that you can go out and beat as well. And a Bulls loss and a Sixers win puts you tied for that last playoff spot. So who knows? I mean, again, I said it last podcast. They got to figure out what they want to do, because staying mediocre and falling short, not getting in as the 11, only hurts your team more, because then you lose your first round pick, as it's only top 6 protected this year. So if they're going to go for it, go for it. But to me, you got to say Embiid's coming back here shortly if you're going to go for it, because you're going to keep being this 500 team that wins 3, loses 3 if Embiid's not out there. And the trade deadline's a week away on February 6th. We'll see what they decide to do there. I'm not expecting trading for anybody, but you have a lot of one-year deal guys that you could see moved. You could see an Eric Gordon moved, the Reggie Jackson moved. I mean, these guys on one-year deals obviously don't do you much if you're not fighting for a playoff spot or fighting for a title. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what the Sixers do at the deadline. Again, I by far don't think they're going to go trade and add anybody. But again, what's I don't know how much use these one-year deal guys are, because you can go find the same guy or a different guy in the offseason on that one-year deal. So the deadline's a little intriguing to me in that sense of, will we give up anybody and maybe add a couple second-round picks or something that you can turn into first-rounders here in a year, especially if you don't have that first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bizarre situation. I hate to do it, but I'm going to compare it to the Dallas Cowboys, dude. Like, a team that consistently looks one way, gets into the playoffs, does nothing, has no draft capital. Like, it's just what is happening? What are they doing? And I think you put it bluntly perfectly, is that they need to know what they're doing, and they don't. The players are out there trying to win because they want to win, and the team is not managing well. And I know we've talked about before that it's not a Nick Nurse problem. It's surely not a coaching problem. It's a office/management problem from them. And I just, yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know. This is bizarre.
Yeah, and it's gonna be weird too this weekend. Let's say you beat the Kings tonight, right? It's 4 in a row. Well, now you get the Denver Nuggets, who obviously are a fantastic team. Then you get the Boston Celtics on Sunday, who's another fantastic team. Then you get a Dallas Mavericks team, who's a playoff team in the West, and then you get a Miami Heat team. It's kind of up and down with all the Jimmy Butler situations going on. So this is like the perfect example of, you very well could go 4 straight and then lose 4 straight here in our next podcast next week. So again, that the team has to figure it out, and I will truly stand by this. My answer to this, I can't pick, because I don't know the situation with Embiid. Like that's what my answer relies on. My answer lies on the health and what this team will do with Embiid. And obviously, if I had to say right now, based off what they gave us and with him not playing, it would be that this team's going to, like, I don't know.
Did he even play in any of the last 3 games?
No, he hasn't played since I think that last win before that giant losing streak. I don't think he's played since January 4th against the Nets.
Yeah, it's insane. And I think that, like you said, we're not doing a pick of the week this week. It's just not worth it, because look, in my opinion, I'll say watch the Boston Celtics game, because that's the rivalry, right? And they're the Boston Celtics. They're the previous national champions. They're the team to watch. So yeah, I think that's what I would go with. But it's stupid. The whole thing's stupid. This team isn't worth supporting. I still stand by. Don't buy anything from them directly. Buy stuff off eBay if you really need something new. Like, it's just, this team needs a change that is something. It's I love to say it in the comic book industry, for all you comic book nerds that cross over to this podcast. Probably not many, but whatever. But you put your money where you put your money where your mouth is, right? You show you like something or don't like something by if you buy or don't buy something. So don't buy Sixers merchandise right now. Don't buy tickets to their games, because this team needs a shakeup. And the fact that they were so worried about a stadium location, about a new stadium, it's all the bullshit in the way when this team can't even focus on winning.
No, exactly. And again, I will die on this hill. It all starts at the top with Joshua Harris.
The
Again,
loser who wouldn't let the Sixers Twitter account congratulate the Eagles, by the way. Absolute piece of dog. loser Joshua Harris.
So I mean, hey, all Philly can do is keep beating up his teams. Yeah, the Eagles knock him out. Flyers are 2-0 in their last games against the Devils. Hopefully, he can get a third one against the Devils tonight. But yeah, Philly's had some luck against Harris. Yeah, no, I hope he sells the team. I mean, there's no question that's what's best for this team right now in the Sixers is him putting this team up for sale. I mean, I don't know any fan that wants him here. Yeah, I mean, let's just be real too. Like, it's not like, if something happened with Jeffrey Lurie, right, in a similar situation, right, the Eagles would actually miss out on Jeffrey Lurie. He's obviously done wonders for the organization. What has Harris done, even if he didn't have the Devils and the Commanders on his payroll there? Like, what else has he done to even want him to stick around? I mean, this guy nothing the Sixers have done has really said, "Oh, let's keep him."
No, it's just money in his pocket,
and it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. And I mean,
it's very similar to
obviously he's not going anywhere, but
not to get into it's not politics, but the economy of it all. But similar to the Penguins being owned by whatever that sports conglomerate is that owns multiple sports teams, it's the same thing. When you have a person that just buys sports teams for the profit of it, there's no, not to be lame, but there's no heart in the sport. So you don't care. You're not invested. You don't care whether or not you put the money towards a manager that cares that what plays. You don't care whether or not your players get the proper, conditioning and coaching. There's no effort because, people watch the Sixers and I get my money out of it. Which is why I will preach to the heavens, stop supporting them financially. It is the only way to make a statement. It really is. Don't go to games. Don't buy hats and shirts and jerseys. Pay Chinese knockoffs if you want to, but don't buy them from Fanatics. I also don't like Fanatics, so whatever.
And my thing too, it all depends on the teams, right? Too, what you're doing. You're getting involved in the Eagles, or sorry, not the Eagles, the Sixers, the Devils, and the Commanders, right? 3 locally teams. Nobody's talking about Magic Johnson, right? Because he owns the Dodgers, who are out in L.A. He's a part owner with the Dodgers, and he's a part owner with the Commanders. Those are 2 teams across the country. So, that to me is also not as bad. What you're doing when you're getting involved with 3 teams that are within 3 different cities that are rivals, right? Across sports. Like the Flyers and Capitals don't get along. They're the other teams in Washington, right? The Sixers and Nets have always had their fair share of rivalries too. That's the big issue with me too.
It's it's deliberate.
Yeah.
Really.
So again, I don't know, but yeah, like you said.
All right, yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to Philly Sports Now, Philly Fan Podcast. My name is Zach. That's Andrew. And as always, go Birds. Good night.
Go!